Hey, what is up guys, and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video I'm bringing you another buyer's guide, another grinding method in this road to 100 million series we've got going. Obviously where I take your recommendations, I test them, and if they're any good I'll make a video. So it's thanks to TMS Stingray, I believe, that first recommended this car to me, and yeah, it kind of worked quite well. So I made a video on it. For the setup, I want to also thank another YouTuber called Warlock for kind of like the base setup. I did a little bit of kind of fiddling about around it. Obviously, I didn't get the same outcome on the performance points. If that happens to you, just kind of fiddle about and it will kind of drop below the PP limit that you need. As you can see, if you want to buy this car, obviously I've just done a buyer's guide on it, but I'll tell you anyway, just in case you didn't watch that. It is 1 million from the Peugeot dealership. This is the 908 HDI 2010. So not too bad, and 2 runs of this, so within an hour, and you've more than paid for it. So yeah, not too shabby on the kind of price point. So this is a setup you're going to need. You're going to want racing hard tyres on both the front and the rear. I know you can kind of mix and match tyres, but yeah, just don't put racing hards on. They're going to come in handy. You want the body height at 80/80, anti-roll bar 5.5, dampening ratio 30/30, the expansion on the dampening ratio 40/40, natural frequency 4.00 and 4.00, negative camber angle 3.0 and 2.5, the toe angle inwards 0.05, and another toe angle inwards at 0.10. On the differential side, you want the initial torque at 5, acceleration sensitivity at 5, and braking sensitivity at 5. Downforce, you want the front at 1000, the rear at 1800. The fully customizable ECU, I believe, comes standard, set that at 95. No need for ballast for this car, so there's no need for the positioning. Power restrictor, set that at 70. Fully customizable transmission, that is something you're going to need to buy, I believe. The top speed at 350. You want the final ratio, this is the most important one, at 2.600. First gear, we're going to have 2.613-129. Second, 1.862-181. Third, 1.452-232. The fourth, 1.250-270. Fifth, 1.112-303. And sixth at 1.013-358. So as you can see, the rest of the car, you're not going to need to add anything else to it. It's all just, you know, either not added or standard. That is going to be your setup for this car to get it under the 800 pp limit. So it's pretty much the go-to grinding for everyone. It's in Europe. It's the Sardinia road track, not the dirt one. And it's the World Touring Car 800 pp event. Very, very good for grinding and very straightforward. So onto the strategy here. So the way I ran this, you can basically just run it at 3 the whole time and do 1 pit and then run it at 3 again. What I did, I like to get through the AI, make sure you've got them on easy because you don't want to be wasting your time. And you kind of just want to make your way through them at fuel mix 1. As you can see, it uses quite a bit of fuel per lap. We're not going to be sticking in one for too long. But as you're going to see, we're just going to make our way through the pack. Just be careful, because sometimes, and I know I have to warn this every video, the AI will kind of drive like you don't exist, and they're more than happy to kind of either punt you in the wall or, you know, basically just block you off like you're nothing really. The good advantage of this car is you have a lot more top speed and a lot more acceleration and control through the corners over these Group 3 cars. So there's kind of like the, I guess, selling point if you want to do this method, is the fact that this car will just massively outperform these Group 3 cars, no problem. It's actually not too bad on its fuel consumption. As you're going to see a little bit later, we're going to manage to basically extend this run out very far into the race. So recently I did a Audi one, and I kind of thought, well, that's kind of a good comparison point. I believe it was in the Audi guide that TMS Stingray did recommend this method, and I'd never really thought about testing this car. It's kind of like one of the forgotten cars, although it kind of appeared in a lot of kind of screenshots, and I believe GT5 and GT6. It's kind of like forgotten about when it comes to this game. But it actually turns out to be a very, very good car, even in its standard form. If you've watched my buyer's guide, you know for a time it's basically smashed the top of my lap time leaderboard. But I kind of worry about detuning these Le Mans cars, but it seems like it's a lot of people's go-tos is these Le Mans cars detuned. So yeah, I always think they're kind of worth a shot. Obviously the thing is with this game, there's not many grinding kind of races out there. And for me, I just want to keep the ground fresh for everyone, because the main point of the game is collecting cars after all. So these guides and your recommendations really do kind of not only help me out to kind of find content in GT7's life at this point, but also, you know, help out the wider community, maybe bring some methods that people haven't really, you know, thought about. So as you're going to see, we're running fuel mix 6 from after the first lap. So, you know, we're just basically going to save as much fuel as we can and go as long as we can. Bunch of cars pitting in between lap 5 and 6. The majority of the field are going to pit in, and you're not going to have to worry too much about them at this point. This is kind of where you're going to stretch your legs, extend your gap, and kind of, you know, take advantage of the performance you have over some of these Group 3 cars. You shouldn't really have to, you know, look back too much. Lap 7, we did kind of start lapping some of the cars. Just be very careful, because they'll kind of be, if they're in their own battle like here, sometimes they will kind of just swerve out in front of you, and you'll pretty much lose a lot of time. Possibly end up in the barrier, which is kind of a big no-no. Another big warning for this event, the pit lane. If you kind of end up there catching them on the pit exit, just be careful, because they will either come across or just pile into the back of you. Bit of a nightmare, but they kind of do it. I don't know why. I don't know if it's kind of something wrong with the programming or what, but it happens a lot more often than you'd kind of think it does. So we're coming towards the end of lap 11. Obviously we've saved a lot of fuel. The tyres are actually holding up pretty well at this point, so this is kind of why you need the hard tyres. With it being an endurance car, I wanted to kind of, you know, push the fuel limit and kind of the tyre life, you know, to the max. And we're actually going to lap the whole field before we finally get into pit. So very, very good on the fuel consumption side when you're running more lenient fuel modes. So yeah, definitely I'd suggest running them. Like I said, you can do the free method. What we're going to do, we're not going to change tyres. That is why we're running the hard compound. They should be pretty good to the end. Maybe a little bit, you know, life taken out of them towards the dying few laps. But it shouldn't be too much. You can just fill up to the dot. I put a full tank of fuel in because I had time to waste, but I wouldn't recommend doing that. I would kind of just fuel just a bit over that little notch. When you are leaving the pit lane, this is another big kind of watch out moment. Just be careful for the AI, because, you know, check your track map or look behind you, because they will come absolutely piling down there, and they are not afraid to hit you. So after your pit stop, you're just going to run, you know, fuel mix 1 and kind of just burn off as much fuel as you can, as fast as you can to the end. At this point, I did kind of notice some of the life coming out of the tyres, so just be, you know, a little bit kind of careful. As you can see, they're starting to spin up now, and it's kind of just as if the last 2 laps that they just dropped off a cliff. You'll kind of notice as we go through here on the last lap, the more tighter sector, I like to call it, or section of the track. Where you kind of need a bit more throttle control coming out the corners. If you're a little bit too, you know, punchy on the throttle, the back end will kick out, and there is a chance you can spin it. Obviously with using the maximum power output, obviously a tiny bit of throttle control is kind of recommended, but as you can see, it's just gonna, you know, be a bit more, I guess, unsteady under braking and kind of getting that speed down, and, you know, leaving the corners. Just be a bit more mindful. That is kind of the only downside to this run. I didn't see the commenter TMS Stingray really say anything about its tyre life, but as you can see towards the end, I did notice a massive drop off just out of the blue. Obviously costing me a little bit of time on the overall run, and obviously putting a bit more fuel did kind of, you know, cost me a bit more time, but not too bad. I believe with, I guess, no mistakes and obviously absolutely nailing down this method, you can easily get it done in about 25.5, you know, minutes. So not too shabby at all as we come across the line in first. So here is the overall time in comparison to some other cars. It is a 25 minutes 56.462 with a fastest lap of 139.798. So not too bad actually. It's very consistent on its laps. I do feel once you absolutely nail this method, like I said, you can easily get it to 25.5 minutes. You're going to take the 727,500 in, yeah, like I said, average between 25-26 minutes. So not too shabby there. So would I recommend this method up against something like, I don't know, the Toyota Hybrid, which everybody rants and raves about? I've already covered it, so please don't go screaming in my comments suggesting cars that I've already covered, because I won't go and kind of cover them again. It's absolutely pointless for me to do that. I'm kind of, you know, want to bring a more diverse selection of cars to the money grind, especially while we're at the point in Gran Turismo's life where there's only about 3 good money making events. And I feel like it's kind of my duty to just recommend as much as possible to you guys and take your suggestions. So yeah, and again, a massive thank you to TMS Stingray and Warlock for both the recommendation and the, I guess, basic setup. Obviously, a bit of adjustment needed there, but I would 100% recommend using this method. It's, you know, a little bit different, a bunch of fun, and it costs 2 million less than the hypercar for all of a couple of seconds. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.